was nothing, just lights in the trees, a trick of the frost, a ghost on the breeze. But I saw a mirror older than me, staring through time like it wanted to speak. The forest went silent, the world held its breath. Something was watching beyond life and death. We stepped through the green, boots breaking the seal, not chasing a light, but something too real. I came back with salt on my skin, my mind split wide where the storm got in. They call it a test, but I know the deal. History blinks beneath the green veil.
Good evening, everyone, and hello to those watching and listening on KGRA DB. I just want to say hello to John and Chris. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing great, Bill.
How was Halloween? Anything unusual or good? Trick or treat?
Yeah, we had probably at least 100 kids at the house.
Really?
Yeah, come trick or treating. It was even though it was cold and windy, the trick or treaters were out there, and you know what? It was a good year. Nobody no damage was done. No toilet paper thrown. The kids had a great time.
I'm not going to make any comments. I'm not going to talk about when I was a teenager. I'm not, because the toilet paper rings a bell. But John, how was yours?
About 50 kids. Not bad.
Over here, I live down 150. Chris has been to my home. Yeah. I live down a 150-foot driveway, and over here, there's no lights. There's no sidewalks. So they take them to the malls, or either that or they have parties in their homes, which is, I think, the best thing to do is just have a party at the house with everybody and do your thing. Just a quick reminder to those that are watching and listening right now, tonight, if you live in the United States, except in some places, and I can't stand it, don't forget it's fall back. The clocks go back tonight. Just a reminder. I think in Arizona, there's some states that don't do it. I wish all the states didn't do it. That's just my own personal opinion. Do away with it. I don't know what you guys think, but that's not what this show is about. We're talking about the Greenvale preview review. But now that Halloween is done, the other holidays are coming. And there's going to be some interesting developments as far as the Greenvale is concerned, especially that Chapter 22, the final episode, airs on Christmas Eve at noon Eastern. And Chris and I, we did a pre-record earlier to set it up for next week, because next week I'm going to go see the Ancient Aliens live tour. Just saying. So we already seen Chapter 15. And we're just going to start off right there, right now. Chris, what was your impression of 15? Because this is it. This is where it looks like all of it is like being laid out.
It's all coming together. You go back to Chapter 14 and you see it starts to break open in Chapter 14, but it opens up in Chapter 15. You now see that the world is starting to realize what's going on. Well, I should say the government leaders are. Nations are seeing this, and they all want a piece of it. And the suspense is there that people are trying to manipulate or trying to gain control of the phenomenon. But the phenomenon actually works there. What I thought was very exciting between 14 and 15 was that this seems not to be extraterrestrial. It seems to be there before the Earth was even born. They mentioned that this was there 4 billion years ago, as the Earth was developing. So they call it almost like a crack, but the communication starts to come out for the next step in humankind.
And that, I don't want to give away what's coming up in 15, but what you just said is kind of the build up to what people are going to pretty much see or hear. It's all the pieces are coming together. It's pretty much laid out. 15 is an excellent starting point, but the whole series, you really should watch this whole series. If you've missed any, you can go on YouTube and other platforms to catch up. But like you said, what a great lead in to me when it went from 14 to 15.
I also think, Bill, that, and I could be wrong about this, is something John will have to answer, but I'm starting to get a feeling of such a spiritual component to this.
Yes, which and I think maybe all three of us will agree that maybe we need to get the Padre on, co-host of UAP Crossfire here, along with Commander Cobra. Commander's a little busy right now. He's helping out relief efforts in Jamaica. So kudos to what he's doing, Commander Cobra. But yes, it does have definitely that gist, that feel, but it also makes clear what happened at Rendlesham was pretty much a connection to awakening something, setting it for the future. Now, John, Chris has a question, but give us a little idea. Was this like something that was going on to set for the future, that something was going to happen, like say in present day or in the near term future, that actually could be the case?
You're talking about chapter 14 now, right?
Well, yes, but it's also a little hint of 15.
I know, but the thing about 14, I'm just going to kind of cover a few things that I find that we could discuss, because we like to talk about 3D Atlas, and there's nothing wrong with it. But the thing that stands out to me in 14 was how we go into the thing about national sovereignty and how the world has to come together facing the UAP phenomenon. So it's no longer an individual country, a problem as far as keeping secrets anymore, that it now has to be opened up to the rest of the world, and the rest of the world wants a piece of the pie that the United States has been holding from them.
But see, there could be varying opinions on that, because some may look at that as being some kind of a globalist control, to use that as an agenda-driven narrative for world dominance. People would think deep state, whatever it is.
Right, but you have to get people to stop and think. Okay, it's okay to keep secrets, like to try to dominate. But when the rubber hits the road and you're about to face something and you're not powerful enough on your own to handle it, and it's going to affect the whole world, that's when it's interesting about bringing the whole world into it and how they're going to respond. And within it, you see how the Chinese, the Russians, and even the Israelis start to respond to what's been kept secret, or what they've known some things, but they didn't know the United States was as advanced or had as much detail into this as they did. You know what I mean? And they all wanted to get in on it.
I agree with you completely on that. But here's the thing. Tied to today, and this goes to both of you. Chris, you can go first on answering this. Don't we see that today when we see lack of information coming out in any hearing because it's classified? Because that is really highly sensitive, top secret information. And that can tip off our adversaries or even our allies, because everybody spies on everybody. So isn't that kind of a national security protocol to do that?
It is, but I think if you see in the chapters, the Chinese acknowledged that they knew about this, but they didn't understand it. See, the thing is that knowing about it and understanding it are two different things. And I think what the series shows is because of what happened with Jack and Leo. So we remember the phenomenon picked them. And because the phenomenon picked these two that were, U.S. citizens or were basically in the United States or on United States property, that gave the United States an upper edge, because the Chinese acknowledged during Series 14 and part of 15 that they were aware of it. The Russians were aware of it, but didn't understand what it was, where the United States started to understand a little bit of it, worked with Jack and Leo in order to, communicate in the way, shape, form.
Because we don't know what's coming. And John has already hinted there's another curveball for us, Chris, and for those that are watching and listening. It always comes down to the weaponization part.
Yeah,
and that's a sad. It's just the reality of it. But I mean, you look at this series and you see a lot of commonalities in what's going on today for real. I mean, I can make so many analogies of what's been going on in the Green Veil to what's actually going on right now. Even like John was mentioning about the 3i Atlas, and we have an article to put up there, Avi's latest statement on News Nation. it seems like so much that's in this, even the interstellar object that's been mentioned. And just to put this out there again to the people that are watching and listening, John did that before AI Atlas was actually recognized as an interstellar object. He had already done that part. So there's a lot of interesting components of this series that is going on really right now.
Well, that's the second part I was going to say. In chapter 14, I introduced the harmonic stabilizing arrays, the amplifiers, the 0-point containment rings. And one of the things, Bill, that you saw today pop up was there's an article out there about how that is really real, that they're really working on that and the ability to move objects from one point to another. Using harmonic, so teleportation. Yeah. So, I mean, this is no longer science fiction anymore, at least. And this backtracks to what you said, Bill, about these hearings. How much of this is a red herring or whatever to the other side, making them believe we're doing things that we really can't? I mean, the Manhattan Project was famous for that. They looked at one way to make the bomb, realized it wasn't going to work, but they kept the whole team in place, kept acting like that was the way they were going to build it, fed the Russians information on the side, making it think that it was leaked. And the Russians went down that path. Meanwhile, they developed a different bomb. So you don't know 100% how much of it's real, how much of it's just theoretical or whatever. But the thing is that within the Green Veil that I wrote, a lot of it goes into the science that they're working on. And I'll give you another example. In the past 3 days, I did 3 different FOIA. Well, I've been in a process with FOIA since the summer with the MOD. And when I started it, they all came back and told me they had too much information, that it'd take too much time to give out information. So they told me to narrow in on certain areas. So this is what they just did now. The 3 areas I narrowed in on, they claim they have no data on file. But they said I can appeal it. So they don't want to talk about this very technology that's being talked about, just like that article you just showed, Bill. We are advancing very quickly, not only in the weaponization side, but within the industrial revelation. They were talking about it on TV this week. We're going into the next phase. We're going into NHI. They didn't say NHI. AI is taking over, but it really is being driven a lot by NHI. And I think people, they're not able to keep up with what's really happening and where we could stand. What could leak out next? I mean, we're advancing like no tomorrow in technology.
Chris, your opinion on that?
Yeah, there's a lot there that I agree with. I can see, AI, the development AI will certainly advance quantum entanglement, quantum physics of that nature, which will allow us probably someday to actually, develop all kinds of different things. Because remember, in quantum physics, we were able to realize that one object moving in space will immediately affect another object, light years away. They will simultaneously move. That's quantum mechanics, quantum physics. So teleportation probably has been conquered. We know the White House has come out and said that space and time has been, conquered that way too, manipulated. Mm-hmm. And we know distances now could be a thing of the past. Will be relatively, nothing to worry about. So, yeah, I mean, but the thing is, do they weaponize it? Do they keep it secret, or do they allow it for humanity? And I think that's one of the things that the Green Veil kind of puts out, is that there's a struggle to every country trying to get it for their own, rather than trying to come together and use it for
industrial military complex. It's always the militarization, the weaponization. And I just want to put this up again because I think this is important. In this series, we've mentioned quantum mechanics, quantum physics. You both have brought it up numerous times. I think it's one of those things I mentioned earlier tonight about the commonalities in the series, which is it's based on fiction. Well, the characters are, but the story, there's some stuff of truth. John can get into that a little bit at another point. But this has a lot to do with what the Green Veil is talking about. This is the time, the distortion bubble. Yes, it's a teleportation now, but obviously there's other applications when you're talking about this. Like you said, Chris, the distance between vast distances. This is all tied together. And they've been doing this for decades, as John has mentioned numerous times. It does not surprise me that this stuff is starting to come out now, because there's stuff out that's not out now that's been in development for years, and they're already advanced like 30 years ahead. And we'll see that in 30 years, but we're not going to know about it now.
But there's two things, though, that are interesting, Bill, when you say that point. Number one is that it is out there. Popular Mechanics, some of these other sites, National Geo and all that, are talking about it. But what it's not getting is getting on mainstream news. It's not getting on the cable news networks. It's not getting on CBS, NBC, and ABC. And none of them are talking about it. And I don't even know if any of these networks will even have a science reporter anymore. Yeah. I don't really think they even talk about science that much. And the other thing that's interesting, and then I want to get into the third part that I find interesting about Chapter 14, is they just put a statement out tonight. They're limiting access into the White House now with the press corps. In fact, they're talking about moving them out of the White House and putting them across the street. So the reporters not only had to sign NDAs to talk to anybody inside the Pentagon starting last week, now they're saying that they're not even going to give them access in the West Wing. Wow. Or limited access right now. So what are they preparing for?
It could be just the prevention of leaks, because leaks has always been an issue.
Yeah, but usually there's something big they don't want out, whether it's the Venezuela operation, the Mexico,
Nigeria now,
or even this comet. So here's the next one that I think that we don't talk much about this, but I think we need to look into this. And Chris has always hit on it, but we've always kind of gone over it real fast. It's when Voss goes in that it's not responding to coordinates anymore. It's responding to blood. And it's about the relationship between consciousness, genetics, and dimensional access. And I hit that hard. And it's going to come up more about how certain people are going to be affected and what the message is going to be and how it's going to affect different people different ways. And that is something that's come out this week that I don't want to get into Atlas too much yet, but they've said that there was an effect that the Atlas had on the sun. And it very well, the sun could cause an effect on Earth coming up in the next 3 to 5 days. So that's the whole thing about, if we did have an encounter, how would it affect different people? And is there a genetic code that goes back with certain people that would be activated or would respond differently?
The reason I said what I said, it's not necessarily that we're not seeing it. This has been in development for decades. I mean, you know that. You've mentioned it a lot of times about what may have happened at Rendlesham or in other locations, nuclear sites. So we're seeing now things that they knew decades ago, like when you were at Rendlesham, they pretty much they started to get an understanding of what this is about. It was in its early stages. But now you're starting to get the information come out because, like you said, it's out there now. It's pretty much out there. But what I'm saying is, what can you imagine what they have right now that we're not aware of, and we may not find out for 20 to 30 years? I mean, when you think about that, we could be so far ahead that we're not even aware of where we really are because we don't know. Right? I would think. Am I alone?
No, I think I would agree with that, Bill. I think there's a lot to be said for that. But the other thing that I thought with Chapter 15 was the president's message. You know, when he basically puts it out there, which I thought was interesting, that we talk about keeping secrets, yet the Chapter 15 talks about the message that the U.S. president puts out. So,
would that be, because without getting into too many specific details, right. 15, but I think it might be a smart move if they knew something was coming to prepare the public, that it's not just an immediate shock and people panic and go crazy. If you give them, it's almost like some people talk about the UAP topic, drip, drip, drip disclosure, if you want to call it that. It's almost like they're preparing the masses slowly so that if something were to happen, they can be like, all freaked out. Well, you kind of
think of it from a different perspective, too. The phenomenon is forcing the hand. It's not the government wants to do this. It's the phenomenon itself is forcing the hand. And if you go back to the hearings, they started with the hearings and wanted to understand it better. And then right in the middle of them, they came in and said something just happened. And it was time to activate certain protocols, which, oh, by the way, they just activated NASA just activated a major protocol on a threat from outside, outside planet. So there is some really crazy things going on. And what's even more interesting is how the rest of the world is staying quiet right now. NASA's holding stuff back, according to Avi, and the rest of the world is not saying anything. China, none of them are saying anything.
There it is.
And that's interesting that China hasn't put anything out, or Russia hasn't put anything out, or Israel or India. I mean, countries that have an advanced scientific knowledge of stuff, you're right, John, they've all been quiet about it, which is kind of unusual on a phenomenon like this, where you would have one or two countries come out and pass off more information than what we've been seeing.
So what you just referred to, John, and I'm going to go based on his quotes. He said, amazingly, the best image was obtained on October 2nd of this year when 3i Atlas came within 30 million kilometers of Mars. He declared that the said image was snapped by NASA's HIRIS camera aboard the Mars Reconnaissance Observer, but that the image was never released. And this is what he said. I wrote to the principal investigator of HIRIS, or HiRISE, what am I saying, HIRIS? HiRISE, asking, can I get the data? I'm a scientist. And he claimed that he was asked if there was evidence that NASA hides some sensational data, to which he responded, it's much more likely not to be related to extraterrestrial intelligence, but to terrestrial stupidity. So, yeah, he's saying he's not happy. And this was on the Rogan interview. He suggested that the photo might have provided counter evidence to the space agency's claim that a typical jet changed into a typical comet tail last month. So he goes on and on, Avi, to counter, like, what's going on? There's no information coming out. It's like they're covering it up. And he goes, there's a lot of detail here. But yeah, it looks like NASA's, and they can't blame the shutdown necessarily, can they?
No, they could release the data. They could. Right. They're using that some as the cover, but like I said, with so much going on, including the shutdown, people aren't getting their SNAP benefits. We're possibly getting ready to go to war down in South America. Just thing after thing is piling up. And again, we can go back to one thing that's clear. None of these networks want to touch this. I think they were supposed to, Brett Baer, they were going to talk to Gresh about a month ago, and then that got delayed because of stuff. And then they were supposed to talk to him again on Friday, and that interview again never got played. So it seems like a lot of this stuff is not getting any mainstream coverage. Obviously, a lot of people follow the internet. They get on these sites. They watch these podcasts. Avi was just on Rogan, which was, I think the last I looked, it was over 1.5 million views. But the point I'm getting at is this is being suppressed. And the rest of the world is staying quiet. And they're holding back data. And Avi's starting to push for that data, and they're not giving it out. So there's got to be something that they don't want the public to know. And I'm not saying the alien ship is coming or we're about to be hit by a comet, but there's something about this, what's out there, that they don't want to have discussed, is what I'm starting to go.
Well, I was going to say maybe it's our technology that a lot of times they'll say we won't put things out there because it would expose the technology that we have. I find that really far reaching, but I could see them saying that.
Here's the problem I have. All this speculation and nonsense that's out there in social media, people posting deep fake AI videos. Michio Kaku's been used numerous times saying things. There's so much absolute nonsense out there. You can tell it's just ridiculous. And they could end all this speculation and talk, unless they really wanted to just go on like this and release some information. Give us something. Give the public an end this nonsense once and for all. But no, they're very quiet. ESA, China, there are other countries that had spacecraft to observe it too. So what the heck is going on? Throw us something.
Has it now come from the other side of the sun?
Yeah.
Or is it still behind the sun?
It just popped out.
It just popped out. Okay. So the biggest thing is hopefully that, somewhere along the line, they will release those pictures. I'm sure they haven't yet.
They have that. No, there has been a couple to show I've seen a couple things where it looks like a comet. But again, what about the actual specific information, its makeup, composition, what it's exhibiting? We could see something on the screen because of the distance and how it looks, with the cameras and the infrared that they use or whatever sensors they use to get the data. It's still going to be vague. We need more information, just that. And you don't even, how do we trust anything that they put out there? Really, do we?
I could tell you they've lied to us for years about the UFO phenomenon and everything about space. So, I don't put much hope in them telling us the truth now.
John?
Well, the actual, I think this is what I'm trying to drive at. Their hand may have to be played this time. There may be something that they're going to have to admit to that they don't want to. And they're trying to delay this. And again, I'm not saying that we're going to wake up in 5 days and they're saying this is going to hit Earth. I'm not saying that it's alien, like aliens are coming. But if they're aware that this is something that's old technology, it was around for, millions, billions, whatever amount of time, and it's been flying around out there and stuff, and there's evidence they can't suppress, then that's going to start a big problem with how are they going to handle the fact that what's being observed is maybe something that's
artificial.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's just some things going on right now that like you said, Bill, they could kill this real fast. And and Avi's getting some traction and stuff, but the crazy thing is they keep moving the dates around when the next. I think they're going to try to fly something through the tail in the next few days, and then I've read that, and then I don't know if it's true or not, and then obviously it's going to continue to get closer and closer to Earth. So there's going to be other observation points that can watch it that that it won't be totally controlled by the U.S. government.
Yeah. So, Chris, what do you think? You think
I think they're putting a lot of resources towards something that they say is a comet. We've had other comets. We have other comets that I don't think we've ever done as much intense studying as we've done on this one.
But you see, when they came out with that alert, what that does, it gets the international community involved to do further evaluation and data collecting.
Yeah, but when have they done that before?
But that's what I mean. Something about this has made them do that because they want to learn more information about this specific comet. I don't know if they're doing it because it has unusual characteristics. It may be something that is totally new to them.
Well, we know that it has unusual characteristics because they've said that, there's a component of nickel that they haven't seen in other comets. There's
doing water,
giving off carbon dioxide, I think it was, that is not common with comets. So, there's already unusual characteristics.
But could that be a cover for silence?
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? It's like are the two related? It seems like I'm making an assumption here, but it seems like there is a connection. This just doesn't feel right. And like I said, I'm not saying it's extraterrestrial either. I'm saying this could have ramifications to us in a different way. And maybe that's what they're looking at. And they're not telling us exactly how or why, but it does seem like it could have some effect on the Earth in some way. As what John, I think, was alluding to, right, John? You were mentioning
Well, Avi said a couple things this week that are interesting, and I've had a couple people that have been following this, and they're not inside government, so I'm not claiming they have a better understanding of this than you or I or Chris does, but they seem to think that the way he's pushing this now is this is important, but what follows is going to be the big one. There's something coming from behind it that within the next couple, 3 years is going to be the one, whatever the one is. Like, is it going to be something that's going to hit Earth, or is it going to completely affect Earth?
Apophis.
I was going to say that. Apophis is coming in 3 years.
Right. So this may be the precursor to what that is. And that's why they're studying this so closely. And does that other one tie to this one? And what was the Oumuamua? Yeah, that they never really would clarify what it was. It just turned around. Comets just don't turn around in space, but they kind of got away with it. It just was coming this way, and it just turned around. So, yeah, you know what I mean? So,
it went around.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, is this the precursor to what's coming in 3 years? And will this cause some kind of effect? Because, again, another person has stated that they have inside information that something affected the sun when the Great Flood took place. And there's been some data that's been suggested this week, which again, is it true or not, that possibly when it went behind the sun, it caused some issues with the sun, and the sun's we're getting ready to go into that field, and we're going to have major interaction with the sun this week. There's going to be a big aurora and all that other stuff happening.
Right, a geomagnetic storm.
Yeah, but it affected the sun. It affected the sun. The sun didn't affect it. But then somebody else said not only did it affect the sun affected it because it changed color and did some things interesting. So again, what is true and what isn't? I mean, there's data out there, and there's a guy scientist has been doing this that I've been following. He does daily updates when he gets data, but at least weekly. He said it clearly affected the sun. The sun affected it, and we're going to have a better idea how much of an effect it had on it here in the next 3 to 5 days.
And we may not see the effect of the sun, obviously, until the sun rotates to where we can visually see, even though we have SOHO. But it is possible, like you said, it may have caused some type of an effect, even though in proximity to it, plus in size, does it something that size have a big influence on the sun? To be determined, but we could see some type of disturbance coming in the next few days. I would say observe spaceweather.com. They're really good at that. The SOHO satellite orbiters that we have to observe the sun. So it's something to be really curious and keep an eye on. I agree with you, both of you, on that.
I'd like to see the data as it come out from the other side of the sun, because I've always said that with a comet, it should, being that close to the sun, melt and start to disintegrate much more than what it would during natural space time. You know what I mean? The heat from the sun, and if its composition is such as a comet, water, ice, rock, it should come out, and they should be able to measure it to see if it hasn't shrunk, hasn't become smaller. You would think it would if water is evaporating from it.
There's a comment coming in from Genghis right now, and I want to get your thoughts on this, because I tend to agree. Maybe because it's from outside our system, like comets we see normally come from the Oort cloud or asteroid belt, things in our own backyard, whereas Atlas is like a foreigner from another, something we've never seen before. Because this looks like this is an object from way out. I mean, this isn't coming from the Oort cloud or the asteroid boy, like John's reference, this thing could be billions of years old. And who knows if it was here before?
But there's the other thing. They didn't give out what it looked like going by Mars. So what data do we have to say it changed once it came from behind the sun?
That's true.
And also another factor that's very interesting in this is the fact that Avi brought up the fact that the direction this is coming from is where the wow signal came from.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that was brought up in Rogan too. So, and again, the government's been totally silent on that. The wow signal was real.
Yeah.
Here's what one problem I see that we have, gentlemen, is that because we've studied, and Genghis, that was a great comment, and this is my thought on what you said in that comment. We think science is set between two posts. We have to throw that away, because what we see in this universe does not mean in another solar system it's going to be the same thing, because we've never been to another solar system. We've never examined objects in another solar system. We base it on theory. Well, it's here in this solar system, so it must be in others. And I don't agree with that logic, because for a number of reasons, it could be absolutely different in other solar systems. Composition, metals we never seen before, material we never seen before, the way things are. So I think what we're starting to see is, based on this, is that we have to throw away the science, not completely, but throw away the science that everything in this solar system is exactly the same. And this proves it with 3i Atlas, that things are not the same.
Well, not that, but they also said that this probably existed before our solar system.
And that's a perfect example, John, is that, we're in very primitive territory when it comes to the science of our universe. Mm-hmm. We know some things, but a lot of things are theories, and 10 years from now, it would be completely wrong.
Well, look at Galileo, how most of his theories were wrong. But here's the thing with the Green Veil. It talks about some of this in the upcoming episodes, and it talks about how, like you said, spiritually, how it affects. Not only that, but in 14, it talks about the difference between it affects the West and the East and different cultures and how they view this and how they look at this. And we don't even know what's being said in these other countries. There's been no coverage about what the other governments have told their people, how their people are following this, or anything else. That's another thing that's strange. And the one thing that I thought should have gotten coverage no matter what is, why did they activate the protocol? That should have been on the news.
I think the excuse was to do further observation and get the international community on board.
But no one challenged them. No one even talked about it.
I haven't seen it on mainstream media, but I don't really watch the news, but I have not heard anything like you said.
No, it wasn't on any mainstream media at all. But
Chris? the other thing, too, is there's no history of them doing this before that I know of.
There is.
And so we've had comets come near Earth before. We've had comets. When have we ever activated a protocol like this with other things? So this is a new phenomenon that has been done.
Here's another thing that baffles me, because the 3i Atlas topic is, people are talking about it all over the place. This is a mainstream topic because a lot of people are discussing it. How come on the 29th, when it's allegedly, and not even allegedly, it came from behind the sun and it's now visible, how come the media wasn't covering that? Knowing that the 3i Atlas topic is a big deal for a lot of people. It's the talk, what's going on, other than the other noise that goes on. But a lot of people are talking about 3i Atlas, and the media is not going to cover that, for even if it's for selfish ratings. They're not even going to discuss it. That shit don't make no sense to me. I'm sorry to use that word, but it doesn't make no sense.
No, you make a valid point on that. Here's the thing, that why the media's to blame and other scientific communities are to blame, is that we have an object like this, and everybody in the back of their mind knows, and at least I truly believe it's not if we're going to get hit, it's when we're going to get hit. Sooner or later, the Earth is going to get hit with a comet or a meteor. I mean, it's in our history, it could be hundreds of thousands of years from now, but it's going to get hit. Again, look at the moon, look at Mars, look at every place has been hit by meteors or comets. So it's just a matter of time. So why aren't we being more open with this? And that makes me wonder why they're so tight-mouthed about something like this.
If it was happy, happy, joy, joy, they would have been posting this all over the place, you would think.
Exactly.
So why? Why this lack of information, almost like a blackout?
Well, look what John said. John said it came from the same area of the wow signal. Its composition is different. It's not. It's different from any other comet we've seen. So we're on the assumption. Everybody's still on the assumption that it's a comet. Yeah, okay, that's fine. But we don't know for sure. We haven't gotten enough data to say exactly what it is, or the opposite, as John was alluding to, is that we do have the data and we don't want to tell people what the data is because it could cause panic, it could cause internal turmoil.
It's almost like mainstream academia doesn't want to recognize it either. The lack of discussion in the science community. You would think there'd be more interest driving to something like this, especially its unusual characteristics.
And John, maybe you might know this. I haven't seen anybody challenge Avi Loeb.
Bill knows Mark D'Antoni, right? He's come out and tried to poo-poo this.
Yeah, but who else?
Yeah, but Mark made it clear, though, that he still leaves the possibility that this may not be a natural phenomenon.
Right, but there's been some other scientists that have just stuck with the Conduit Line. But no, you're right. I mean, the government, and no one's challenged him on the fact that they're hiding data. They haven't denied that they're hiding data.
Right.
They haven't denied a lot of things.
You would think there'd be some kind of debate, to challenge Avi Loeb's,
theory
points.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and sometimes, though, you just keep your mouth shut, because if you start debating it, that draws more attention to it. I mean, that's the thing. Besides that 3-eye atlas, this green veil covers a lot of stuff about the technology that we were working on back in 1980, going forward, how it's evolved, what we have the capabilities to do. And it also talks about how something from out there comes in and affects the Earth. And so my guess is that they either know for sure that it will, or they're afraid it will. And either way, they don't want to make this turn into something that starts to get into the news cycle. Because if this ever hits the news cycle, it's over.
Here's my theory of technology, and correct me if you think I'm just way out there, but I look at technology, scientific technology, especially weaponization stuff like medicine. So you come with a treatment for, let's say, my theory is you come for a treatment for cancer. And then all of a sudden you come for a cure cancer, but you haven't made your money on the treatment of cancer. So you delay the technology to cure cancer until you've made your money on the treatment. Well, I think technology is the same way, is that we hold off on advancing technology until it's profitable on this one part, ditch it, and then go to something else. Does that make sense?
I agree. John?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, but I think it doesn't pass the smell test. And I think at the end of the day, people need to start asking more questions. The problem is with the internet that there's too much stuff that's out there that's just bogus. Yeah. And the sad thing is that it's pretty clear it is, but it seems like the more sensational it is, the more people will pay attention. So in other words, if tomorrow NASA made a press release, what we're tracking is unknown still. It appears it could have characteristics of a comet, but it could be something else, and we won't know till it gets closer. That won't get the headlines of alien craft is approaching planet Earth.
I don't think they'll ever, just like all these other mainstream scientists would say something else. They're letting Avi do all the talking because he's the only one that's really out there discussing it that way. Let him put himself out there, and we'll just stay silent because we're not going to say it could be something else. I don't think they're going to touch that at all. But before Astro brings up a point here, are we getting better technology to see these objects, and perhaps we have had these things before? Absolutely. NEOs, these interstellar objects, the technology is always advancing, and we're definitely getting more information, data, and gathering. But still, this one that we're dealing with right now came in on the plane. And Mark D'Antonio, as you mentioned, he said the chances of this coming in the way it's coming in is 0.005. It is the utmost rarest possible. I mean, the number is insane. How this thing just happens to be coming in the way it's coming in on the elliptical plane and passing our planets. It's just, he said, even Mark would say that, and he has. So again, this has a lot of unusual characteristics, and I'm just so curious to see what NASA is going to release, when they release it, if they release it. When are we going to get information?
Here's the next question. Let's say that the excuse right now is that the government shut down. There's a good chance sometime this week they're going to open the government back up. There's a lot of factors coming together that may force them to at least open the government short term.
Right.
So what if it gets opened up and nothing's said? Then what?
Exactly.
Or how about this theory? How about they don't know? How about they looked at this thing and they go, we still can't figure out what it is.
But they have to have images and data that they collected when it passed.
But that doesn't mean we have images and data that you can define what it is.
Oh, that might be what they tell us, so we don't know.
It's true, but
you know,
how many times have we said before that this is just a theory? Remember, Bill, we're and just like John said, we've advanced so fast in technology, but we're still at a stage where, we're still considered primitive in some ways. So there could be somebody sitting there going, I don't know what this thing is.
You do understand how they do this data collection, right?
Sure.
They take the picture. No, but this is important. It's like how they do the weather. Bill likes to be an amateur weatherman. They do these models and they come up with these possibilities. And the closer it gets, the better they narrow in on what the storm's going to do. So if the data they're collecting, it was like COVID. Remember, at first it was going to kill millions of people. They had to lock everybody down. No one could come out of their house. Everything had to shut down. You had to stand 8 feet behind somebody, double mask and all that. Then the data that was fed to the computer was inaccurate. And they realized quickly that it wasn't going to be that catastrophic. It still was catastrophic, but not as bad. So I'm agreeing with you, Chris. Maybe the data they've collected is insignificant, not significant enough for the models to give them exactly what it is. Because these guys are doing this off of computers now. Whatever data, their pictures they're getting, whatever they're collecting from it, whatever they're getting out of it, they're putting it in a computer model and it's telling them what is going on.
One thing.
Before Chris, I hold your thought. You both are probably right, and it's connected to that alert system because they didn't get the data they were expecting. And this is a way of now trying to retrieve more information and data from it because maybe they came out with a bust, and that's why they want everybody looking into it. Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I'm just saying that, John, is that you can go by 100 different theories of what this may be, and every 101 of them are wrong. We just don't know how this government collects data in a way that we can trust it. Remember, at the congressional hearings, what struck me, and this is why I don't believe in congressional hearings anymore, when the chief of naval intelligence stood up and he says, "Oh, we got this video of an unknown object flying by one of the fighter jets." And he says, "I'm sorry, we don't have computers that could enhance this or show this better." Now, Bill, yeah, come on, you're the most advanced technology in the in the world, and you're telling me that you using a laptop, you don't have anything more advanced to take pictures of this and stuff?
Yeah,
I mean, that was just, yeah. I mean, come on, that was I don't care what anybody says. That was a blatant bull crap as far as I'm concerned.
We only have a few minutes left, so I want to make sure to let everybody know. Make sure you see chapter 15 on Thursday. Because if you've been keeping track of this series, you definitely need to watch 15. Chris and I, actually the three of us did a pre-record for Thursday. And I was like, whoa. And to know what's going on currently and to watch that, I was like, all right, this is getting just too freaky for me. I'm just saying it is a really, really interesting, I'll say at the least, episode, chapter 16. I mean,
well,
15.
if I had to put my money on this, what's coming towards us right now, tying it to the Greenville,
yeah.
I think that it's going to affect Earth in some way. I think it's going to do something to Earth. I think there's a lot of different signs, including what Avi said, some other people I've talked to, that it affected the sun. And think about that for a minute. It allegedly affected the sun. So if whatever this is goes by the sun and can cause an effect on it, it's going to come by close to us too. So there very well could be some kind of effect that happens to Earth, and then what's coming behind it. Do you know what I mean? And remember, 3i Atlas wasn't even on anybody's radar before July.
Yep.
So is there something behind this before what comes in 3 years?
And
I think Apophis is the one that. Yep.
But I just want to answer one of the chats in there. Is it something from another debris field? Sure, absolutely. Because you know what? And I'll tell you, just saying, nobody can tell you what's outside our solar system accurately yet. I mean, we have theories, we have some scientific data that we could try to put a hypothesis together, but it could be just exactly what you said. It could be some debris from another solar system that's just coming through.
Now, John, I don't know if you want me to mention this, but Holt said something interesting. Is that something you want to discuss?
Oh yeah, let's wrap it up with this. I've been fighting this since, let's see, Rendlesham hit the press, I think it was in 1983, if I remember right. The News of the World broke the story. And once it broke, it put a lot of people in a bad position, including myself, with different things. I got moved around some, not right after the incident, but once the story broke. And I've had different things said about the incident over the years, including Halt was very critical of Adrian Bustinza and I. And what I mean by that was he at first said that Adrian and I were never there. Then Georgina Bruni wrote a book, You Can't Tell the People, and she analyzed the tape that he did. And in it, the tape showed her, I was there. It was on the radio. You could hear my name being mentioned, and I was there. And Adrian was there. So he begrudgingly admitted that Adrian and I were involved. Well, he just now said on Russ Colcart on Thursday, the interview was done prior to Thursday, but it aired on Thursday. He clearly stated not only was Adrian and I there, but we went forward. We could have had an encounter with something, and he clearly believes that whatever we encountered injured us. That was quite the statement to come out from Colonel Hall.
Wow.
That's what I said. That was the wow moment, like the wow signal. Is not only is he finally admitted that Adrian and I were there and we went out and went in front of him, but the injuries that Adrian and I had came from our event that night.
I mean, I don't want to say it again, but that is a wow. That is a wow. Because that is absolute acknowledgement that, yeah, you guys definitely experienced.
And he also went public, because I've never said much about it. He was involved in my settlement. Williams was, and they got data to Williams. Williams got data to McCain and to the VA, and Halt did too. So when they sit there and say some of these things about the lighthouse or everything else, both Williams and Halt, I don't think they knew prior to the event, but they knew a lot more after the event. Mm-hmm. And that hopefully before I pass, something more will come out about Rendlesham that'll clarify. I mean, I'm putting a book out on my data, and like I said, the MOD stonewalling me on some questions I have about technology, but hopefully maybe it'll be more clarified on what exactly happened to us in Rendlesham.
Just a quick reminder to everybody: we will not be live next week. I have to go to an event.
He has to go, folks. He has to go.
It's Ancient Aliens Live. Nick Pope left me a couple of tickets.
Pure entertainment and BS. Ancient Aliens. I got to get my hair all crazy. What if 3D Atlas has got aliens from the past coming back to the future? I'm just saying,
Anyway, I want to give big thanks to Keith Kerlock, Bass Creek Soundscape Studio, bcss.rocks, and also YouTube channel at Rose City Sound Project. The music, everything that's going on with this series is Keith doing his thing. Anyway, any closing comments, gentlemen? Chris?
Yeah, definitely watch chapter 15. I think it's an exciting chapter and well worth your time.
John?
And the 15 and 16 are important. 16 is a really long episode. It's almost a half an hour long. It really opens up a lot of things that so far haven't been clarified. But then going into 17 and 18 is when we need to get the Padre on, because that's when the next curveball comes in. But I will tell you this, as we close tonight, Dan Brown did a series called Angels and Demons.
Yep.
And the Da Vinci Code before that. And I forget the one he did afterwards. It had something to do with like a virus that was going to hit, and they put that out before COVID hit. It was just a little weird about that show or that movie. But he talked about Angels and Demons, and it's not just in that movie, but in Atlas and in general, science and faith have to come together for us to actually evolve and survive. That part I firmly believe. If we don't find a way to make them work together and evolve, we're done. We're toast. It won't matter if a rocket's this or not. We're done. We're done spiritually. We're done completely.
Well, on behalf of Chris DePerno, John Burrows, and myself, all of you, hope you enjoyed the show. If you haven't seen it, catch up. This is it. It's hitting it now. This is where it's all coming together. As I mentioned earlier, Chris and I seen it already. We did a pre-record about it. This is it. This 15 and 16, like John mentioned, this is where it's really going to get intense. So everybody have a great night. We'll see you live in a couple of weeks, but don't forget Thursday, chapter 15. Don't miss it, because it's part 1 of 2. And we will see you in 2 weeks. So everybody have a great night. Be well, be blessed, be safe. And we'll see you then. Until then, good night.